Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
We're happy to have with us today Greg Valente. He's the film critic for the Eagle Times-Tribune, a New England daily. Greg, how you doing?
I'm good.
Greg, where can listeners find you online? Where can they read your stuff?
They can go to gregvalente.com. It's VELLANTE.com.
On this week's episode, we're going to talk about... I just put this one DVD Blu-ray down in front of John. American, the Bill Hicks story. And this is something I think you mentioned it to me a long time ago. And I knew nothing about Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
But you said you're a Bill Hicks fan. Oh,
I'm sort of a fan. I didn't really know much about his life. I've seen him do some stand-up. He's a pretty funny guy. I don't know if I walked away from the movie feeling any different about him. It was kind of funny, but I mean, it was a well-made movie. I didn't know if it was didn't blow me away.
So the BBC came out with a 2-disc Blu-ray, so we'll talk about that a little. And I also want to say we're recording this episode again at Panera Bread, across the street from the Coolidge Corner Theater. So apologies for any of the obtrusive background noise, babies crying, people talking, toilets flushing,
and anything I say,
and anything John says. So
I apologize right up front for anything I'm about to say.
Or the coffee machine just over on the left here. You know, you never know when that's going to go off. So anyway. The main subjects of this episode, we're going to talk about the new Pixar flick, Cars 2. And we're also going to talk about the new, dare I say, Cameron Diaz comedy, Bad Teacher. She actually does do comedies. You guys are looking at me like a stone cold.
Did you saw it? You think it's a comedy?
I think for a comedy,
we'll get into it. I think we should do Cars first.
Okay.
Screech. A big grinding halt, you know.
Did you not like it at all?
Well, I'll tell you really quickly. I just, as most people in the world, they love Pixar, and I actually really liked Cars. The first film. Although I know some people would consider that
let's leave Dan Kimmel out of this.
The worst of the Pixar movies, I suppose. But I think we have perhaps seen the worst of the Pixar films, Cars 2. And it's not because it's not incredibly beautiful and perhaps even some of the best animation, but it just doesn't have the emotional reach. It's cold. This is a cold film, and it's not even that funny.
No, I think it affected me last night. It feels like they took the plot of an old spy movie, not a spoof of a spy movie, but just some old crappy spy movie, and used that to build a Pixar story around it because it's a lame ass spy movie.
Yeah, it was. I'm thinking it's like you take a little bit of The Incredibles and throw that in, that sort of ambiance, but it just did not work. It's like John Lasseter didn't even care.
You remember how much you cared about the people in The Incredibles? The whole family really cared about what happened to them.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens to anyone, even Mater.
There's not a single character in this film that you actually get a really good feeling about. And the characters in the first movie that were funny, like the supporting characters, the cars, Luigi, who was the one that Cheech Marin, the lowrider.
I don't know.
That was not even hardly elemental.
Yeah, and I think making Mater the main character and just sidestepping Lightning McQueen is just a big misfire on that part.
That's a good point. He was secondary in the other one. But I'll make the case that in between the first movie and this new Cars films, Pixar made a number of shorts. All of them, I think,
with Mater
were Mater oriented, and so maybe Mater. Maybe the marketing department said this is the character that scores for kids, not Lightning McQueen. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's the whole movie in general is marketing and merchandising. I mean, I'm watching it and I'm thinking I'm watching a feature-length commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, Cars characters are the characters from Pixar that have shown up on the most merchandise and T-shirts, and I just think that's why they made this movie, for merchandising reasons.
I have another theory.
Uh-oh.
And that is, by the time the first movie came out, Cars, I don't know, it came out, 4 or 5 years ago? 2006. Pixar had spent so much time telling you how they made their movies the formula of what it takes to put together a Pixar film. When they released it, it was like they kind of put it out. Yeah, they had a big, junket event and stuff like that. But there was comparatively little pomp and circumstance compared to the other films. I mean, because this was the formula. It was just a formula Pixar film. And this even works. Cars, the original Cars.
But then, it's funny because the films they made after that, I'm thinking of Up in particular, which we all love, was so outside that formula, and it looked beautiful and it had great heart to it and it was really funny and it still holds up well, if you watch it. So I don't know if it was just, and this was co-directed by the guy who made The Incredibles.
No, this is Brad Lewis. It's a different
Brad
guy.
Lewis. Okay.
Brad Lewis.
So forget that. But anyway,
he's a producer on Ratatouille.
And how? Let's just gauge now on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your feeling about Larry the Cable Guy in general?
I have no
1 being
whatsoever.
bad, 10 being you really like him.
Was Cars 2? I think just pulled Larry the Cable Guy back into notoriety again from nowhere. I don't know.
No. He's got a show on the History Channel.
I have no
sold out. See, I'm a big fan.
Oh, really?
I'm like an 8 on the scale.
Really?
I know. It's like a dirty little secret. And even I was annoyed by him in this one. It's just like, all right, enough Mater. Give me any other character.
I think you look at the themes of like the movies they had since Cars. Like you have Up, and it's like this deep theme, and even Toy Story 3. These deep themes, and then you have Cars 2, and I guess the moral theme they're trying to get across is like, don't try and change the way you are, because Mater's acting like, but he's really just acting like a jackass, in Japan, and they're like, be yourself, but teaching kids to act out like that, I don't know.
I think the Japan part was actually kind of cool. It was after that I drifted off into a sort of in and out sleep again. So
they made Japan
like
look great. I mean, I'll give the credit to the animation of this movie. It looked phenomenal.
Oh, it was. It is.
All the movies
amazing.
have been visually arresting. It's just this one I just couldn't get pulled in emotionally.
I was watching I don't know if I was listening to an interview or whatever, but someone was saying that I'm paraphrasing here badly too, in the normal Pixar film, the resolution is, let's say, 5,000 pixels. And in this one, it was 20,000. So they upped the game that much visually, and it does look it. And I do not think it, being in 3D, adds anything but wearing sunglasses at night. I mean, it looked dull. The first time I saw a trailer on TV after I saw the movie, I was like, wow, that's when it's fully bright and illuminated. That's cool. I'd see it again in 2D.
Yeah, this would probably look a lot better in 2D.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be
anything particularly
3D.
amazing about it. And the story was actually pretty lame. I mean, it's just, Lightning McQueen going off to do a World Grand Prix race, and Mater tags along and gets caught up in personal...
The whole reason for the world...
international...
The whole thing for the World Prix race, though, is this, this subplot to set up the whole spy scheme, because that's the kind of... That's the scheme that the villains are planning.
Yeah, so it's this this Range Rover the fella who he believes... Well, there's like a fossil fuel or something, message here, alternative fuel message. He says that he's come up with this fuel that, is much more natural or something like that. But basically, it's just a scheme, so that this guy can make all the money because the one last gas reserve on the planet is going to be one that he knows about or something
Greg,
like that.
you were talking about how the themes that Pixar tackled in Toy Story 3 and then Up, they were themes that the characters talked about and you felt. This one, all I heard was people talking about it.
Yeah.
There was no actual emotional content or any kind of pull on your heartstrings. The way when, we all know that even that one moment in Up, the quiet moment that kills us all.
Yeah.
No words. And it still tugged it, just broke us. And this one is like, it's like they almost had to remember, maybe you've got to say, friendship's important, because that's what the movie's all about. So they give them a line, go, yeah, friendship's important. And that was it. It was more like, bumper stickers and T-shirts than any kind of well-written feeling.
Well, I think in those other films, it's like Pixar has this, they do the flashback and being able to tell a story in 5 minutes really well. It doesn't happen here.
No.
And there's a moment where it happened where they did sort of a montage flashback in the original Cars, And I forget what tune it was to. Rhett was like, it was to this, and it was so formulaic. They didn't even do that here.
Yeah. Annoying
just
soundtrack to this. Really annoying.
Yeah.
You can't remember it now, but I bet it annoyed you while you were watching it.
Yeah, but there were some moments where it's cool. Michael Caine as the Aston Martin type spy guy. And his Moneypenny sidekick, the pink car with the
Was
with
that
the
Emily
jet.
Blunt?
Emily Mortimer.
Yeah. It had its cool spy moment things. Gadgetry, cool. We're gonna get that from Transformers next week. I'm just so disappointed. But this was part of the Disney Pixar agreement. I think they had to do this. This was a movie that was contractually impressed upon them. And John Lasseter has his name on as his director.
You don't think he directed it?
It seems like he kind of did it as a side project. It just doesn't look like there was any passion here.
It definitely seems the most heartless and
hollow.
Yeah, it's so hollow.
We'd have to have
Not
their
funny.
tattoo removed.
I think with a lot of the Pixar films, one kind of like I like watching them again, for all the stuff. But
I would never pop this into a DVD player.
it just doesn't have the humor.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Up 5-6 times. I've seen the classic, like Finding Nemo, and Toy Story, and probably in the double digits. I've seen plenty of times. I can't imagine ever just popping this in just to watch the
kids will love it.
It's going to make $1 billion.
I mean, it's flashy and it's fun for the younger kids, but it's one of those, all the Pixar films when a parent would take their kids, I can imagine the parent enjoying it as well, because Pixar always has these like subtle adult jokes and themes that adults can enjoy as well. And I think adults are just going to be itching to get out the door during this one.
Yeah, and by the time those the theater slides started to come on about with 5 minutes to go, when they started flashing the trivia questions in the middle of the movie, that really relieved. That really didn't help. I mean, I was yawning through this movie. Pixar, it's bound to happen.
Yeah,
everybody has their downtimes. Financially, this will be huge for them, but creatively,
it's a long streak. I mean, I give them credit. I mean,
what was the last movie they did? Was it Up?
No, it was Toy Story 3.
Oh, no, you're right. Toy Story 3. Yeah. Probably their biggest success of all, perhaps.
Since Cars, they've just grown and grown in these, really, really great films. And go back to a sequel to Cars. It was the last movie I expected them to make a sequel to. I would have much rather seen a sequel to maybe Monsters, Inc. or
Bugs Life.
The Incredibles.
That is in the works. The Monsters University, I think it's called.
Oh, really?
Let's talk about the opening movie, Toy Story.
Oh, yes, we cannot forget about that. That was the best part about the whole thing was Toy Story Hawaiian Vacation, which takes place in the little girl's room who inherits the dolls at the end of Toy Story 3, and all the characters are back. And basically Barbie and Ken think that they're going to be going with the girl's mom, or the girl's, I think it's...
They stow away in her backpack when she's leaving school.
Right.
Because they're still in the Sunnyside daycare, Barbie and Ken. So they stow away in her bag, and they get out in the room, and they're like, "Hello, Hawaii," and they're like, "Why would you think she would take her bag, like her schoolwork, with her on vacation?" So
and Ken was already with his different,
But again, there's all the themes that the Cars 2 is trying to talk about as far as friendship and everything else, and it's done by all the toys. Rather than disappointing Ken because he's sitting in the backpack crying, they build a dream vacation for him in really fun and imaginative ways. Right. When they're swimming and they're pretending to swim, or they go surfing.
When they bring ham on a platter. He's like,
nice. So basically, what happens is they do they actually believe that they're in Hawaii? The other toys get together and they give Ken and Barbie the ambiance of Hawaii.
Yeah. And it's got, again, it's got the heart that Cars is missing. It's got the jokes it's missing when they're walking in the snow and how beautiful it is until they hit the end of the porch.
The best part is when they kiss and Ken does the lip. Yeah, instead of Barbie.
See, and what's that?
More laughs in
like
the
3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
In that than Pixar's Cars.
Yeah, and it's the idea of that. Again, it's the thing that was missing. It was the show don't tell thing. They showed you what friendship was all about in this little cartoon.
And they never say it.
Right.
Show it.
Right.
Cars, man. Now I'm just thinking. I think Cars 2, and I think, man, that was some lame ass shit.
Yeah, can you just go in and see Hawaiian Vacation and then leave?
Yeah, I would recommend people just walking in, watching that, walk out. I'd take it to another movie.
I want to emphasize though, Cars 2 is a beautiful looking film, and the animation was insanely good.
When it comes down to it, it's a really spectacular looking but boring Saturday morning cartoon. That's what it is. You know, it doesn't have. It's not an animated film. It's a cartoon.
There's that difference. Yeah, it doesn't have.
That's a good way to put it.
You know the scenes in Tokyo when all the sweeping shots, the racetrack and stuff. Did it remind you of anything? The classic Speed Racer.
You know, they probably took. I did think that during watching the film. I did think that.
God awful Speed Racer movie.
Yeah.
With
Emil Hirsch.
Yeah. Boy, was that
bad.
That was bad, and it had monkeys in it. Usually that gets a B for me right away if it's got a monkey in it. But I just thought this the way. Except this was more realistic in a way than Speed Race was, because he had all the weird.
Well, you know what's interesting though is that they really don't have a central relationship in the film. In the first film, it was Lightning McQueen and the Bonnie Hunt character.
Right.
You know about
forming his friendship with Mater.
Friendship and loss and the community helping you to get back to being a normal car. But here it's. You don't believe for a second that Mater would ever get together with anybody. No. It's just absolutely absurd. I don't even. And even there's no connection between the cars in terms of anything beyond friendship. You know, love, loss. It's not
what
there.
What are they fighting for? I mean, in the first one again, they were rebuilding the town and they had the great Paul Newman character. You know, the retired racer.
Well, the first one was about not being an egotistical prick. You know, getting back to reality.
That's all the press gets.
You know, what Paul Newman brought to it was he brought the history. You know, a car that was broken down and, tried to get back to who he was and, so some sort of redemption. But here it's not. I could just keep on going, but I'm going to stop right there. Let's move on. Shall we? Unless there's anything else you want to say about Cars 2.
Here's the thing. This is what, if I had kids, I would take them to see the Hawaiian Vacation, pull them out, and go right to Bad Teacher. Sounded like kids.
That's true.
Hello, shits, come here. You like that cartoon? Now we'll sit here and watch Cameron Diaz blow up in front of your face.
And she apparently isn't down with them either. Oh God. Another bad movie with a few good jokes, with a few good laughs.
I didn't find that, Steve, but
let's do it. Bad Teacher.
Yes. Greg, what's the plot of Bad Teacher? What's the story?
Cameron Diaz is a bad teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
How she even got hired? Whatever.
Have you ever seen, I was trying to explain this in my review, and I was writing around the fact that she's a teacher walking down the hallways with fuck me pumps and a skirt so short you can see her bikini wax. Mm-hmm. And she's the teacher, and that's like before she goes bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the plot.
It just doesn't, why would the school system even hire her in the first place?
It's
that disparate.
It's nonsensical, because she's walking down, with her bra hanging out, and, any middle school, any reasonable middle school faculty principal would fire her.
No matter how much you love dolphins.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous premise. And I think the whole thing is that there's no movie here. It's a character who has a shtick. It's Cameron Diaz who's a bad teacher. And then that's the movie. It's just watching her be a bad teacher. And it's all these little schemes and just funny, not funny, but like trying to be funny scenes. And there's really no movie here.
And the fact that they give this bad teacher a dream. And what's her dream? To buy bigger boobs. Because if she gets bigger boobs, she can get a man who'll take care of her for the rest of her life.
Because she tries to get with Justin Timberlake's character, who's inexplicably a substitute teacher, but he's also
heir to a
watchmaking company. Why is he a substitute teacher?
His character is just like the shallowest airhead.
I don't think anyone gave him the memo that he wasn't doing SNL skits.
I think for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, but there is my one redeeming grace in this is I'm blanking on his name.
Jason Segel?
Thank you, Jason.
It's the only thing I laughed at. He goes through this movie, he's got that stone-looking smile on his face like, I can't believe I'm in this piece of shit.
He does bring sort of a regular reality,
Well, I think the great thing about Jason Segel is he just kind of pops into he's tragically underused in the movie.
Yeah.
But he shows up from time to time, and he's just like, I'm just going to make this movie funny for a little bit, and then I'm just going to step back.
Well, you mentioned how
because he's the one guy that gets who she is. Like the other people it seems that she's working with, or the one girl, Lucy Punch, who's her adversary, they just don't get fact that like
character.
that this woman is who she is.
Is a
Like how
psychotic
can they not
drug
see
abuser.
beyond the
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about how shallow Justin Timberlake's character is, and there's a scene where Jason Segel stands behind him and taunts him. Just taunts him relentlessly. just like saying, just saying one thing, and when Timberlake actually says the complete opposite, and Timberlake goes, is like, a laser pointer with a cat. And he just toys with him and then walks away.
Basically, it's because his character can take one word and go on a mundane, not a ramp, but just like in a mundane tangent.
Yeah, it's just like an endless
so he was
reading
just
of
like
Hallmark
basically
cards.
just toying with him. It was,
and
pretty
he
good.
just does it enough and then walks away. It's kind of like, like that
Slavery.
guy.
I hate slavery. Slavery makes me so angry.
Oh my god. And
Okay, that was.
and Miss Diaz, cast your mind back, gentlemen, to The Mask. Remember when she first hit the
I was
screen
thinking
in
about
The
her
Mask?
other comments.
And she was that lady blonde in the red dress, and you're like, who the hell is that? I acted like a wolf in a Tex Avery cartoon, which is what The Mask does later on. Mm-hmm. And here's this woman, her body kind of looks the same, but her face doesn't deserve those close-ups. In the cartoony makeup and the
something
morning
that's-
after haircut.
There is something a little weird about her face. I mean, she has this just knock it out of the park body. It's insane, and they totally accentuate that in the film with the dry humping scene with her
In the car wash scene.
Yeah, in the car wash scene. But her. There's something wrong with her mouth. I mean, there's something wrong with her mouth. I don't know what it is.
And then when they try to make a point that this is the bad teacher being good, they like just wipe the makeup off. And they like add a little more Vaseline to the lens so she's soft focused and she has like a moment.
You know what I think they were trying to go for? I think they wanted her to be like some sort of female version of Jack Black in School of Rock, who doesn't care. But if you can maybe tap into something about her that would get everybody psyched. She doesn't have any real, she doesn't have something like this sense that she's going to motivate a group of people to really, get everybody psyched to do something, because her interests are so personal and egotistical. It's all me. It's not about sharing awesomeness with other people. It's just about how she can get what she wants from other people.
Do the notes there have the woman in the doctor's office who is displaying what a new set of boobs would look like?
Oh, that scene.
Yeah. She's
no, I
talented.
don't.
She's got talent. Okay, the car wash scene.
Yeah.
There was this going to be talked about car wash scene with Cameron Diaz in Daisy Duke shorts.
So basically, I should explain really quickly. She's trying to raise what, like
$10,000.
$10,000 to get a new pair of boobs, and one of the kids suggests that we can do a car wash. And if you really
To raise
crank
money
up
for
the
the
car
school
wash,
trip.
Yeah.
you can raise money, and you can basically she's going to take that for breast. Anyway,
So she does this kind of like this stupid she does this gymnastic white snake video on a car.
And still, nobody thinks that she's capable of, or would even think of embezzlement. But whatever.
But the thing is, and the fact that they end this scene with a hard-on joke is just so lame. It's like, all right, they cut the one kid, and they're like, I bet he's got a boner. Oh, he does. That's comedy. Anyway, two much better car wash scenes for our fans out there who like car wash scenes. Cool Hand Luke. What?
Dodgeball.
Does Dodgeball have one?
Remember the car wash scene in Dodgeball?
No.
Where they had the sexy car wash across the street, but then their car wash was the one redneck.
I don't remember
It
that.
was basically
The average Joe is like
drooling
car
over
wash,
Justin Long as Justin Long was bending over to clean the tires.
Maybe I don't mean that one. Cool Hand Luke, where the guy's in a chain gang and watch the blonde wash her car and just say dirty things about her. But you remember a movie called One Night at McCool's?
Yes, that.
With Liv Tyler?
Yes.
Doing a car wash?
Mm-hmm.
Not only was that a lot hotter, but it also had a much weirder but oddly funny movie around it with Michael Douglas and who else?
Paul Reiser.
Andrew's guys. Clay, Paul Reiser, and John Goodman.
Yeah.
And Liv Tyler.
Car washes like these, they have to be in slow motion.
Yeah.
Another thing, and you got to get some rolling around on the hood. You know.
Look at his eyes. I think Steve wants
some sponge splashing and everything.
Yeah.
And then the reaction shots of the parents.
What if you have, this is like some people go to film school and take apart Scorsese. Here, I know car wash scenes. They need to be slow motion. They need to have some fluidity to it. These were just shots. Like, okay, you know what would be cool now? If you sprayed water up and like went like this, and she does it. Okay, now jump on the car. Yeah. Now pull your legs up. Yep. And it's like there's nothing there. It's just kind of like, yeah, I get it.
So what did they clear? They clear like 5,600.
Yeah,
something like that.
Pretty much. But it's again before I went into this movie, I was like, well, I just had hopes for it. To be, because it's called Bad Teacher, you think I thought of Bad Santa.
I thought of that too,
just because of the title.
Plus, it had sort of the Freaks and Geeks guys were there. Paul Feig was one of the dads. The teacher from Freaks and Geeks was in it. I mean, I think Jake Kanston directed a couple episodes of Freaks and Geeks.
Jason Segel, was he a freak?
Yeah.
Jason, of course. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but none of that. The comparison with Bad Santa, they had moments that were really bad. I mean, just awful. But it also had a little heart to it, and you felt something for Billy Bob Thornton in those characters. Not to mention it had Lauren Graham in it.
But this is the problem with the film. She's so egotistical. She hardly has a redeeming quality. She doesn't have a redeeming quality, and she's not likable.
No.
When you make a character like that, you need to have some type of redeeming quality. You can't just be watching this character who's so unlikable that I was just turned off the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? I can't think of a thing. Was there anything about her?
Near the end, where she has a transformation. Where did that come from?
Well, it was only because if a plot element quickly thrown in is that if the students score a certain number on the SAT or something like that, the teacher that their teacher gets a $5,100 bump or something like that. So she basically conspires to steal the SAT answers from Thomas Lennon. As she does, she tries to seduce him, and in the process of doing that, somehow, she has to get these kids straightened up. So she starts to teach them she actually gets them to start reading books from the syllabus or something. What was it? To Kill a Mockingbird and stuff like that. So it was just. She put them, but it was all personally intended. There's no, but she still has no interest in
even
the
at the end when
betterment
she
of
walks
kids.
into the gym.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's just like, where did this come from?
Yeah, and this is how it ends suddenly, and it's not even redemption. It's kind of like settling. She realizes she's not going to get some guy to pay for her life, so she's like, okay, well maybe I'll fuck the gym teacher.
And he's actually okay with it because he knows who she is and doesn't expect anything.
Yeah,
it's just what it is.
Looking to get later. Look.
Yeah.
A gym teacher who can't climb a rope and likes to get high. I like that. I like that a lot.
Just a character that he seems to that's what Jason Segel does. But he just seems to know his place in the film.
I was serious. I liked it a lot. I thought it was one of those things that was his performance was so out of touch with the rest of the movie.
Yeah. That
I kept waiting for him. You're right. He's underused because I kept waiting for him to come back and just do something funny.
Thank goodness for him, because that movie would be unwatchable without him, in my opinion. I think every scene he was in had something funny about it. The scene where he's arguing with the schooler about LeBron versus Jordan.
That's all the proof I need.
I could not stop laughing. I've seen it in the trailers, that entire exchange of dialogue, and it was just as funny because it's just so true, and they made it that much better after the championship that LeBron had lost, and I was just watching it and I was like, yes.
And again, Segel goes for that. He's screaming at that kid. That poor kid.
It's a disappointment. It really is, And I liked a couple of Jake Kasdan's other films. He did Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Yeah.
The TV set with David Duchovny and Sigourney Weaver. I like that. Zero Effect I haven't seen. I guess that was his first film.
Yeah.
But he also did Orange County.
Haven't named the winner for me yet.
Doesn't look like he's gotten any better with this. This is definitely a disappointment.
Yeah.
Really expected more from it. Sorry.
No.
Don't see it. I fucking don't rent it. I don't know.
Yeah. Why go? You can anything you think you're going to see. Is it rated R?
It's a hard R, yeah.
For the dry hump scene?
Well, for the plenty of language.
Well, yeah, for the scene where she walks in on her
she just swears
fiance,
like relentlessly at the student.
what she says she's going to do to her fiance at the beginning of the film. That really gets it.
Well, that's funny because you think about, all right, so she swears constantly.
Yeah.
You guys watch Deadwood?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Al Swearingen in Deadwood. It's the most creative use of foul language I've ever heard. It's Shakespearean swearing. He says words that she says. When she says, it's kind of like, stop it. Stop. You're not even good at swearing.
He tries really, really hard to be raunchy and edgy and over the top, and it's, vulgar.
And it's not.
There is one thing that her character does for the kids in the film. She takes her class has all these classic examples of the shallow high school kid, the shy kid who can't meet anybody, and she kind of is she has this sort of polarizing effect. She's so cold-hearted and mean that when she tells this kid that you're not going to fucking date anybody until you're like in college, you got to shape this shit up. This is not going to work. She's actually in her mean, cold-hearted way helping them. The shallow girl who was, or the one that thinks she's going to be president and she's like kissing up to him. She's like, you're not going to get anywhere with like this. You got to bring it down, loosen it up. So you can see what the filmmaker's trying to go for here in terms of getting the kids out of their ruts.
I mean, but there's a weird scene where she gives the kid
advice.
Well, she gives the kid advice and then she gives him her bra when they're on the field trip.
Right, but there was actually a good point there that she was totally real in the fact that like the girl that you're pining after is never going to want you because she's at this age and she wants this kind of guy right now and that's not you. So cut out all this emotional crap that's just not. It might work in movies, but this just So in a way, there was this part of her that cut through the bullshit with the kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were saying there's this where she takes the bra just so she can improve the kid's image in the eyes of the other kids.
Yeah.
The fact that he's got her bra or something like that, it would be good social cash.
When I was thinking about this, the way she talks to the kids, the way she acts, would it be different if this was a guy? If this was Billy Bob Thornton, if it was Walter Matthau trading in Bad News Bears, or if it was Billy Bob Thornton in the remake of Bad News Bears. A guy popping this attitude with kids. Not the sexy part, not Walter Matthau in a skirt. I don't want that image anywhere in your mind. But because it's kind of a male-written role. Where guys, if Billy Bob Thornton is telling the kid, give it up, you're never going to get this girl because you're a pussy. Is that different than when Cameron Diaz says, give it up, you're never going to get this girl because you're a pussy?
No.
Okay, well, settle that.
Yeah, it's still the same.
It's still a badly written.
I think the main thing about this movie is that you look at the screenplay, it's written by all men. And I think their design of Cameron Diaz's character is that she mainly uses her sex appeal to get what she wants the whole movie.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing that separates it from if this character was a man. It would have to be written a lot differently. Because I think during the whole movie she's really, using her sex appeal to get ahead and take advantage of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Still, it's a failure.
Well, not funny.
It's a train wreck.
Maybe just a few laugh out loud moments, but not that great.
What was there was a karaoke scene or something with Justin Timberlake, if I recall?
Well, he's performing with a band.
Oh, right. The song,
yeah.
God, what was the title of that song? It was
Simpatico.
Yeah. That was actually pretty funny.
Once again, I feel like that scene could be in an SNL skit.
Right.
I think he was trying to be funny in the way he's funny on SNL, but in brief bursts.
Yeah.
And as a whole movie, he's very not entertaining and not that funny.
Generally the whole audience after the preview screening, I get the feeling was like, whatever. I mean, they were just out of it before the movie even ended.
It's very forgettable.
So, yeah, that one's gone. John, shall we move on to Picks of the Week?
Let's recommend something we like. Give people a break here.
Well, we previously mentioned American the Bill Hicks story. Not having known Bill Hicks beforehand, really. I mean, I'd seen a few of his I think I'd seen like 10 minutes of him on YouTube, and it was the guy. It seemed to me like had a lot of anger, but this really spells out who he was about. They did a terrific job with this, and it's actually it's really some amazing animation in terms of how they took photos and video of Bill's past and basically animated his story, his biography.
Remember that movie?
Quite good.
The Kid Stays in the Picture.
Yeah,
It's the same
Robert
kind
Evans.
of animation style where they use cutouts and backgrounds to. It was well done. Well done.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, I didn't come away from it thinking more or less of Bill Hicks. I kind of think he's funny, but his life kind of pissed me off too.
Really?
Yeah. Anyone who, yeah, it just did.
It's interesting though. He was very secretive about his. The fact that he had cancer, he didn't tell anybody.
Right.
What his what his sets were going to be, what his setup. He didn't reveal until he got onto the stage. So even his family was surprised that he could do this. And it's interesting the documentary doesn't go really into depth about his disease. It was more like just saying goodbye. Like he knew that it was all going to come to an end, and he didn't tell anybody, which is. I guess what caused David Letterman to apologize for having him cut from the show maybe 10, 15 years later, because he knew that he was going on Letterman and this was going to be his last performance, but he didn't tell anybody. And he wanted to be this breakout thing, but they ended up cutting this segment. And then 10 years later, I guess Letterman had his family on the show and apologized. But it's an emotional trip.
It's an emotional tribute. That's the thing I think that's missing. It's all a tribute to Bill Hicks and how great he was. And to that point, I understand, but I need a little more perspective about his place in comedy than just praising how great he was.
He made there's two transitions that happen in the film as far as him taking his act to the next level. One was when he started drinking prior to performing, and then just outright drinking on stage. And then they were like, oh no, now he's really going to be.
The audience would buy him drinks and just try to see how drunk they could get him in performance.
And he was on a huge downhill spin, and then he realized that he was never, because of his choice of professions, that he was never going to really be able to get out of this rut. He had to completely remove himself. He made the decision, which I think is amazing, to entirely move to another city so that he could be, get away from the people that kept offering him drinks. I mean, that was a really huge move. And then after doing that, his comedy got sharper, better. That was when his career actually took off in his second phase. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. American, the Bill Hicks story. John.
Did you ever see the show Elvis Costello Spectacle?
No.
It's an interview show he did on the Sundance Channel for 2 seasons, and season 2 just came out, and it's just fascinating. I'm a huge Elvis Costello fan anyway, but it's unlike other interview shows where he comes out and he'll sing one of the guest stars' songs, like he's got U2.
Oh right, I think
the
you were
Edge
telling me
come out.
about this.
And so he sings the U2 songs to introduce him. And then the fact that he's a musician and has been around for 30, 40 years now and knows all about music, it's a different kind of interview. He's really intense on asking the Edge and Bono how they came up with a certain song or what it means to do this and that. And the performances are good. But it's a wide range. It's not just superstars. And if you saw him in season 1, he wasn't as good an interviewer. He had Lou Reed on one show, and it was embarrassing because Lou Reed's a prick, and Elvis was trying his best, and Lou Reed's just a prick, and it was just dying.
Couldn't they have edited around it?
I think I'd like to see the raw footage because they must have edited around, but it's an embarrassing moment. So in this one, he has people like Sheryl Crow and Edge and Bono, and then Mary Louise Parker, who doesn't perform musically, but she comes on and interviews Elvis about his career, which is a pretty interesting one. And then the last 2 seasons of the show, because it got canceled, are Bruce Springsteen. And it's
Right.
2 hours of him sitting with Springsteen.
Was this HBO?
Sundance Channel.
Sundance. Okay, I do remember Sundance On Demand having the Springsteen.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry.
It's great stuff because
last two
after 2 seasons of this show where people would play, you know, like Edge and Bono or whoever it was up there playing, and people sitting at the Apollo Theater going, "Oh, lovely song, lovely song. That was very nice." Now go back to talking, please. Springsteen comes on. It's the first time I've seen the audience stand up and dance in the aisles, and it's such a powerful performance and
It's
great.
Springsteen.
Yeah, it's you know, that's just it. And but then he sits and he'll just do a quiet folk kind of song. But the interviews are really good. They're just in-depth stuff from a different perspective. So I would highly recommend watching season 1 and season 2.
Cool. Craig,
Mike,
anything?
you must have something you're watching. It's not
Someone
porn.
that just came out on DVD. I mean, speaking of TV, is Louis season 1.
Oh yeah, I was watching it this
Isn't
past
it?
week.
Show.
That is some funny shit.
Is it? I
Season
over
two,
the top,
season
though.
2 just started.
It's funny.
Season 1 just came out on DVD, and it's just his comedy is just so like just on, you know.
See, I've never gotten into Louis C.K.
Did you like
watch one of his
what's his
stand-up
name? The cable guy.
I know.
Like,
so obviously I have no
He's-
taste for comedy.
I think Louis C.K. is today's George Carlin. I think he pushes the boundaries, and he's so loathing in his comedy and on his divorce and his kids
and his delivery.
It's
It's
so
about
funny.
like ambiance and delivery, like just being able to say it the right time, the right way. You can get away with it. You know, like maybe like this whole Tracy Morgan thing that was happening this past week. You know, he said some stuff about that, but it's not. You know, it's not that Louis C.K. hasn't said similar things, but he says, you know, there's a time and a place and a
Yes,
delivery. You
flawless
have to know that your
delivery.
audience
Saying the
doesn't
most
think that you
offensive
believe
things
that.
possible.
You know.
Yeah, and his shows are it's always the same format. You know, it's just a basic premise. Sometimes it's like 2 premises split into one 30-minute episode, just, you know, punctuated by just a stand-up routine. And
What's the show about?
it's about his life as a stand-up comedian. He has 2 daughters who come over from time to time. His you know, struggles in dating, and it's just, you know, a sitcom premise in each episode, and then every 7 minutes or so, it's just a little bit of his stand-up routine.
Huh.
And it's usually within the theme of the episode, the material. And
Right.
And it's just, he's so funny and so edgy, and I love it. And season 2 just started, and I can't wait.
Is this the same Louis C.K. who directed one of my all-time favorites, Pootie Tang?
Oh God, I don't know.
I believe it
I don't
is.
know.
I believe he directed Pootie Tang.
Well, I'll have to look
Louis
that up.
CK?
I don't know.
Yeah. And I know it pains you to think
There's some
about it, but
great short moments in this series. The one where he's goes on that blind date with the woman in the apartment building, and just everything falls apart, and she has to eventually escape with the helicopter.
Yeah.
That was good. All right, I got another comedy recommendation. Cedar Rapids. John and I talked about this film a few months back. I really digged it. It just came out on Blu-ray with some good extras. And this is for Ed Helms fans, man. It's like the perfect Ed Helms.
What about
And
for
it's
Anne
super
Heche
awesome.
fans?
Anne Heche is terrific in this as O Fox, and John C. Reilly in his over-the-top, you know, sort of semi-wild man role. This is it's a great film. It's a great film, and I don't think a lot of people saw it. And I think it's Miguel Arteta, the director's best film. He did The Good Girl. He did God, what was that one with Mike White? It was like his first Chuck and Buck.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That
it's from a
movie
while
still
back.
scares me. I hear that.
There
I
was
hear
the-
that title and I cringe.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. did direct Pootie Tang.
Really?
Yep. Proof. Have you ever seen
Wow.
Pootie Tang?
No.
Oh, rent it. No, what? It's so cool. Anyway, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Cedar Rapids.
We got that episode. I suppose listeners can go back and check it out. But I do very much recommend it. And John, one film we wanted to talk about, you know, like we get it into our heads that we're going to talk about certain films, and then it's like things come up and you can't actually finish watching them. But I
Did you fall asleep again?
I fell asleep to the Louis Malle film Black Moon.
Yeah.
Which I definitely want to talk about. Well, I guess we'll do it next week. This surrealist mid-'70s thing. But Kiss Me Deadly just came out on DVD from Criterion, and I've watched perhaps 3/4 of it. I saw it many years ago, but I didn't want to offer a full review
Want
until
to know how it
actually.
ends?
Oh, like we don't know.
Why?
because this is a film that is so influential in like the Quentin Tarantino filmography. And Repo Man, one of my favorite films. Repo Man, one of my favorite films during college. I haven't had a lot of respect for Robert Aldrich, the director, because some of his films, they were action-like.
Like who?
Well, there was The Dirty Dozen, and then there was Flight of the Navigator. But they were like...
He did Flight of the Navigator?
Yeah. Flight of the Phoenix. Sorry, Flight of the Navigator was the mid-'80s fantasy thing. Flight of the Phoenix was Ernest Borgnine going crazy with Jimmy Stewart in the desert.
It's not the
I mean, it was like, we know how this fucking movie's going to end. It took them fucking 2.5 hours to get the goddamn plane in the air. It was excruciatingly boring. And I'm sure it must have been thrilling and action-packed in 1966, or something like that. But anyway, Kiss Me Deadly was... I guess it was 55, and a lot of people consider it the most dangerous of the film noir.
Look how chicks look back.
I mean, there's some amazing still photographs that they took for Kiss Me Deadly publicity.
You know what I got a kick out of watching this was that Mike Hammer, and he's such a dip in this movie. He's like a thick. And Cloris Leachman, who I didn't realize until
that was a surprise. I still keep thinking of High Anxiety whenever I hear the name Cloris Leachman, but here at the beginning of the film, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
Cloris Leachman. Kind of sad.
John's...
Filmgoers will luridly talk of this torture scene.
John's reading from the booklet.
Luridly. Can we just take a minute here and talk luridly for a second? I watched... Do you remember we were talking about those MGM movies, those print-on-demand things?
Oh, right, yeah.
I saw one called Girl in the Black Stockings.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it.
Anne Bancroft and Mimi Van Doren. Boy, was it awful.
Really?
Yeah, but it was like one of these movies. It was so bad it was good because, they're out dancing on the dance floor, and they find a mutilated body by the pool. I don't know how they find it, considering the dance floor is nowhere near the pool, but they do. And it's 1950s mutilation, so there's like a strip of dark chocolate on the girl's shoulder, so you know that's blood. And then for the next hour and a half, everybody looks guilty. That's like the only direction in the movie was just look like you did it. Let's film you. Everybody looks just trying to look guilty, including a guy who is psychosomatically paralyzed.
It's interesting how they portray psychosis in 50s movies. I mean, I don't know if you probably don't remember this guy, but Adam 12, Dragnet. Whenever they'd make a drug bust and the guy was like freaking out in the bathtub, it would be like the most. I don't even know quite how to explain it. It's just like, how did TV, capture somebody having like, an overdose?
This guy was, his wife left him at the altar, so he was paralyzed from the neck down. And he would just sit there with his hands like, curled up in fists, and he'd have to be pushed around in his wheelchair. But there was always the hint in the movie that maybe he did it. Maybe he was only faking being paralyzed, although the sheriff kept throwing things at him to catch, and he'd bounce off his chest.
So his wife was just like, see ya, and then he's like, I'm paralyzed?
Yeah. And it took place in Utah.
What?
Yeah, a resort in Utah. It was just hilariously bad. Anne Bancroft was in it.
What's the title again?
Girl in Black Stockings. You guys can borrow it. No one's going to buy it from me.
I was actually MGM's. One of the things I requested for review was Bloodbath.
I got it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
But, you are in for a rare treat. You are. I swear, they send this list of here's 30 movies for you to pick from, and it'll be like, here's classics and art films and critical claims. I'm like, Bloodbath, Dead Girl in Stockings. What else you got? That's
High School Hellcats.
High School Hellcats was awesome.
Well, we'll be talking about that on another show.
Yeah.
But do check out Kiss Me Deadly. And Alex Cox, the director, has a pretty good introduction to it. He lots of admiration for the movie. So we good?
Don't cut that one. That was brilliant. Leave that in.
No. Okay. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Where can listeners go and where can readers go to check out your work?
Go to www.gregvellante.com, and Vellante is spelled Vellante.
Cool. And you can listen to all of our shows online. We're at post-movie.net, and we're also on Facebook. You can check out our stuff there. And we're also on iTunes. If you can subscribe, that would be awesome. And if you could leave a review, that would be even more awesome. We actually had a really good review this week.
From who?
Or you know what? I actually noticed this week. The person left it like a month ago. From Sean the Oz. It's good. Check it out.
That's not a real name.
It's a real, yeah, it's up there.
What was it about? Did they talk about me?
You have to check it out. It's good. Yeah, they do talk about you.
Excellent.
Or he does.
I
he does
love
talk
that.
about you.
What's his name again?
Sean the Oz.
Yeah, I love you.
Thanks, Sean.
You're awesome,
We
Sean.
appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, send us an email. We're at contact@post-movie.net. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.